There's one lake in northern Michigan that is hiding in plain sight as one of the most historical parts of all of northern Michigan. Today, I want to show you everything about Walloon Lake, a hidden gem. And trust me, even if you're familiar with Walloon, you're going to learn something on today's video. We'll be looking at the amazing history, everything there is to do around Walloon, and yes, even the real estate market. So let's jump right in. The first thing that stands out to people is where Walloon Lake is located. We'll be looking everywhere from the Walloon Lake Village to the other communities that cover Walloon Lake. Walloon Lake is very expansive. In fact, it starts around the Jordan River Valley and goes almost all the way to Little Traverse Bay. To be more specific, Walloon is located between Petoskey, Boyne City, and Charlevoix, which makes it one of the most convenient locations for everything in northern Michigan. The geography also stands out. The lake is glacier formed with 2 arms, 2 shores, and 2 feet. It covers just under 4,300 acres and has a shoreline of just over 30 miles with a maximum depth of 100 feet. Despite being just about a mile from Lake Michigan, Walloon is actually 100 feet higher above sea level, which makes the lake a lot colder. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about all of the lakes in northern Michigan and everything northern Michigan real estate related, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. I try really hard to pack these videos with as much information as possible to make you more knowledgeable both about northern Michigan and the real estate market in general. Now, I don't do this with a lot of other communities, but I think it's only right to talk about just how much history is in and around Walloon Lake. In fact, the history is one of the things that make the locals most proud to live on Walloon. Now let's get into the history of Walloon Lake. Settled by homesteaders in 1827, the area quickly became a hub thanks to the Grand Rapids and Indiana Railway. By the late 1800s, tourists from the nearby Chicago, Cincinnati, and St. Louis came to northern Michigan to build summer cottages on Walloon Lake. But there was one particular family that put Walloon Lake on the map. Ernest Hemingway. Yes, the Ernest Hemingway started coming to Walloon Lake when he was just 3 months old. He ended up spending 22 summers on Walloon Lake. He hunted, fished, and even honeymooned at the family's cottage named Windermere. In fact, Hemingway's experience on Walloon Lake actually influenced his early writings. You can even go on an entire Hemingway tour in the Walloon Lake Village, which includes a sculpture inspired by the Old Man and the Sea near the first place he visited, Walloon Lake, and of course, Windermere Cottage. Now that we've talked about the history, let's talk about exactly what there is to do in and around Walloon Lake. And I'm going to tell you why Walloon Lake has a calendar packed with things to do year round. Well, let's talk about the summer. If you've experienced Walloon Lake at all, you know just how great of a lake it is to boat on. One of the things that I think is really interesting about boating on Walloon Lake are just how many different types of boats you see when you're on the water. You've got the wake boats, you've got the old barrelback boats or the old classic Chris Craft Woodies, as well as large pontoon boats and many other types of boats. There are also many boat launches around Walloon Lake, meaning even if you don't live on the lake, you can still get access to using Walloon Lake. In fact, the most popular boat launch is located right in the village next to Hotel Walloon. Legacy, which was formerly known as Tommy's, also has the ability to dock their boat right behind Barrelback Restaurant. Also, they have a boat share program, which allows you to pay for a fractional ownership of a boat, which makes it a very convenient way to boat in the summer if you don't have a ton of time to be on the water as much as you like. Also, fishing is very popular on Walloon Lake. With depths from 28 to 100 feet, that gives Walloon Lake the ability to have a variety of different species of fish. Bass, perch, and walleye are some of the local fishermen's favorite species of fish to catch on Walloon. In fact, Hemingway himself called Walloon the best place on the planet to catch rainbow trout. If golfing is your thing, then Walloon Lake has a couple of great options. First, the Walloon Lake Country Club. However, it is private and you do have to be accepted. It is a great spot to golf and even enjoy fine dining. Conveniently located nearby would be Crooked Tree and a couple of other local golf courses. That way you never have to go far to get a quick 9 or 18 holes in. If you're into biking or hiking, the Boyne River Trailway is going to be perfect for you. It's a great spot to ride your bike, go for a quick run or jog, or even walk your dog. It's incredibly safe and has some of the best views in the area. Now, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that fall in northern Michigan is one of my favorite times of year. And Walloon Lake has some great nature preserves and places to even do bird watching. In fact, the Walloon Lake Association and Conservancy manages over 90 local preserves giving you access to the land. I think the Walloon Lake Conservancy is one of the biggest assets to Walloon Lake. They do such a good job of protecting both the lake itself and the land around the lake. Now, a lot of times when people watch my videos, they reach out to me and say, I love the idea of being in northern Michigan in the spring, summer, and fall, but what do I do about the winter? And I'm here to tell you that Walloon Lake is even special in the wintertime. If we get enough snow, snowmobiling is great in that area with many trails for you to snowmobile on. Depending on what part of the lake you're on, Walloon is conveniently located to skiing. If you're in the village or on the Boyne City side, you're going to be really close to Boyne Mountain, which is one of the most premier ski resorts in the Midwest. If you're on the northern part of Walloon Lake, closer to Petoskey, you're going to be conveniently located by Nubbs Knob and Boyne Highlands, which are two great skiing hills. Also, remember the nature preserves I talked about a while ago? You are able to snowshoe on a lot of them, which is a great way to get outdoors and get some exercise in. So those are a couple of ways to make the winter go by quickly. And before you know it, it's going to be spring. I also think spring is a great time in northern Michigan because the area comes back to life and you can almost watch it happen with your own eyes. The lakes start to melt. We start seeing more and more vacationers or people that own resort homes here. And the spring slowly lets you get ready for summer. One of my favorite things to do in the spring are visit the local wineries. And believe it or not, Walloon Lake is located smack dab in the middle of all of the wineries in the Petoskey and Boyne City area. It seems like every year another winery opens up. And believe it or not, we have over a dozen wineries in this area. Now let's talk about the lifestyle and community on Walloon Lake. A lot of people prefer Walloon Lake because it's sort of tucked away and offers a laid-back lifestyle on one of the most premier lakes in the Midwest. In fact, you have to really go off the beaten path to find a lot of the roads that are located on Walloon Lake. And it's interesting, I've been in real estate for 20 years and I've showed a ton of property on Walloon, but I swear every so often I'll find a road that I didn't even know existed. As with a lot of places in northern Michigan, we are starting to see a lot more people decide to live on Walloon Lake year-round versus just being here in the summer months. This is because it's a lot easier to get Wi-Fi internet than it used to be, and a lot of the things that made northern Michigan a little bit more remote and hard to live year-round have definitely changed. Mixed with the fact that a lot of people are choosing to retire in northern Michigan, Walloon Lake seems to be a lot busier during the off-season than it once was. Now there's one last thing we need to look at before you decide if relocating to Walloon Lake is right for you. But before we do, what do you think of Walloon Lake so far? Could you really see yourself living here? Drop a comment below. Now we've talked about the history, we've talked about what there is to do, we've talked about the lifestyle, and there is just one more thing you're probably wondering before deciding if Walloon Lake is right for you, and that's the real estate. So it's time to start asking the real questions. What should you expect if you're going to buy a home on Walloon Lake? Now I'm here to tell you, like a lot of places in northern Michigan, Walloon Lake, due to the demand, has gotten extremely expensive. I remember selling a home on Walloon Lake just about 10 years ago that went for under $1 million. Now I would tell you the entry level on Walloon Lake is right around $3 million. In fact, there are currently 2 houses on Walloon Lake for sale. One is listed at 3.7 and one is listed at 3.9. Now it seems like every time there's a new listing on one of the premier roads, such as Lake Grove or Indian Garden, those houses are consistently going for over $4 million. So yes, Walloon Lake does offer a very high quality of life, and it's a very exclusive place to live, but it has gotten very expensive. I'm often asked, what makes Walloon Lake so expensive? And I've got a couple of answers. One, I truly think it's the lifestyle. Where else can you live on a beautiful lake with beautiful views and still go to the movie theater in Petoskey on a rainy day, which is just a few minutes away? Also, people that live in nice areas typically want to live around other nice homes, and that is one thing Walloon Lake has gotten going for it. There are a lot of nice homes on Walloon. It seems like when one nice house pops up, the neighbors' houses seem to improve as well. Now, there are a lot of locals that think Walloon is losing its charm and becoming more of an area with these big mansions versus quaint cottages, which is what they are used to. Now, if you want to live the Walloon Lake lifestyle but don't quite have a $3 to $10 million budget, there are more affordable ways to enjoy Walloon than living directly on the lake. There are plenty of homes in the Walloon Lake Village that go as low as $200,000 sometimes. And there are also some areas that have shared frontage options, meaning you can have a nice house and even keep a boat on the lake and spend well under $1 million. I don't want to scare you too much, so if you love Walloon and want to use the lake and enjoy the Walloon Lake lifestyle, you can still do so without having to spend a ton of money. Also, as a local, if you live anywhere in the area, you can still use the boat launches, you can still go to the restaurants in Walloon Village, and I truly think that Walloon Lake is an asset to Northern Michigan no matter where you live. So if you want waterfront living filled with history and beautiful natural views, you're going to love Walloon Lake. Just make sure you bring your checkbook. Regardless of where you end up, I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Whether you want to buy a big, beautiful home on Walloon Lake or something a little bit more simple, I would love to help you. Please reach out to me directly at 231-487-6141 or hit the Calendly link in the comments and pick a time that works convenient for you, and I'll be sure to be available. And if you like this video, you're gonna love the video I recently did about other waterfront communities in Northern Michigan. It'll give you even more options to consider, so make sure you watch it next.